everybody. Welcome to another episode of Black Tea. My name is Michelle Lawrence. So glad to be back with y'all again, hosting this advertising series all about Black women in the industry, presented by Muse by Clio. And today, I'm really excited to sit down with and meet for the first time Bianca Reed. Hey, Bianca.
Oh, hello, hello.
Please do tell the people what you do and where you're based.
Well, so I'm Bianca Reed. I am Vice President of Client Development at Rain the Growth Agency. And it's one of those agencies people will say, I've never heard of them, but we have a great client roster. And so it's going to be exciting to tell you a little bit more about my role there. I am based in Enid, Oklahoma, because I am an Air Force wife, so I go where the government sends me.
Wow.
And so, I work fully remote. It's been an adjustment, so we just happen to be in Enid right now.
Love that. Please do thank your husband for his service.
Will do.
And I'm loving your office space. You have doors. Can I get access to that? Like, that's a WeWork situation going on there.
I do. So when we moved, one of the things you talk about, what do you need to feel safe and happy? And for me, it's an office space. I need to be able to shut my door. I am on Zoom, no kidding, probably 9 hours a day. And so I need a space that represents me and that I feel comfortable in. You can't see it because the light is hitting it, but I have a sign behind me that says work hard and be nice to people. And that is like my ethos as I go out in the world. It's my reminder. So I definitely am enjoying the space. And I have 4 kids, so I can shut the door and actually get work done.
I love that. I'm so jealous. I just moved to New York a month ago, and I'm still figuring out where in my apartment I'm going to do this from. Like in the other episodes, you'll see I have like a whole setup with some shelves and stuff. Girl, I am tucked into the corner of my bedroom with like some cute.
You would never know. It's cute. You would never know.
That's where I'm at now. I'm gonna figure it out. So if y'all see me switching up locations every episode for a little while, I'm just know I'm working it out.
It looks good. If you had told me you were in a mansion and somewhere else, I would have believed you. So
I am. Did I not say that? I'm in a mansion.
There we go. claiming that vision.
Maldives. Okay, so how did you find your way into advertising?
Yeah, so I started out my career in CPG, so Coca-Cola, Hershey's, those kind of corporate organizations, and I really did sales, district sales, field marketing, and kind of progressed within those organizations. And then I was about 6 years ago, I was finishing up my MBA, and I got to that point in my career where I felt like I was going to get pigeonholed. Like if I didn't get out of kind of this, the CPG world, I was never going to get out. It felt like I wanted to stretch my wings. And so I started applying for advertising agencies and marketing roles. And I think I didn't know even how to tailor my resume to get one of those jobs. I kept approaching it like I was still trying to work in that same industry. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I'm 32, 33, I think. And I graduated, finished my MBA, was working at Coca-Cola, and made the decision to start networking and just start asking other women who were in leadership and marketing, like, how do I break into this? And it happened that the owner of Rain the Growth Agency, Michelle Cardinal, was one of my mentors. I went to her and said, hey, can I just have 20 minutes of your time to learn and get advice from you? Because I feel like as women, you reach a certain point in your career where there's not a lot of mentors around to support, and you can ask questions to get genuine career advice from. And so when I went to her, I said, okay, I told her my whole career journey and what I've been doing and what my goals were. And she said, come work for me. I have this program that I want to start. And it's taking someone who's established in their career, who has leadership and management experience, who truly is a full professional, and make them go through sort of an adult internship. And they call it a leadership fellowship. And I trained in every department in our agency. So media buying, media planning, brand strategy and research, creatively trained in every department, analytics. Most humbling year of my life. I mean, you go from like knowing what you're doing and being a boss in your own kind of lane to running media logs and networks telling you didn't submit something right, and then going into media planning and learning about GRPs and CPMs. But it was the best experience ever. I then progressed from there into client service. From client service, then I went to the new business team, which I would say my superpower is definitely in the sales area. And then promoted to leading the client development team, which is a fancy way of saying new business for the agency.
Yeah. I mean, okay, that's awesome. First of all, Shout out to Michelle, was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
For taking you on, because I think
Oh,
finding those mentorship figures is half the battle, right? Like, how did you go about finding her name? You know, how, and then even prior to that, when you were client side, you know, how were you finding mentors?
right. So I'm big with LinkedIn and networking in that space. I was based in Portland previously, and Portland is an interesting market because you have some big organizations like Nike and Adidas and things like that, but you're maybe not as global as in LA or in New York. So I really made sure I was doing a lot in the digital marketing space and making connections.
Yeah.
And prior to Michelle, I would reach out to people on LinkedIn and say, hi, my name is this, and just little quick, like honestly dry, cold outreaches and say, would you be willing to give me just 5 minutes to kind of learn about the industry? And
Yeah.
I took a lot of what I had from my sales acumen and started selling myself so that I could kind of get those meetings. Michelle came about, she actually, her husband knows my father. And so I was asking my dad, I'm like, put your feelers out. Who do you know that I can speak with? And so he was able to get that meeting set up
Yeah.
and get in the door with her. And I talked to other people who weren't willing to make kind of the same investment in me or in someone else. And Michelle, it's paid off. Like when you think about clients that I brought to the agency, it fully paid in full the year she spent investing in me.
That's awesome. And I would also think that your little tour around the agency internship program is would affect the way that you work now, that you've kind of settled in on a department. Just a lot of people don't have the experiences of working in all of the other departments. I've certainly only ever been in creative, although I did get my advertising and like broader, my master's degree in broader advertising. I haven't had those experiences working in the other departments. So I'm wondering if you feel like that has influenced the way that you work now.
It does. It gives me so much empathy into what it takes. So as I'm selling, I'm pitching to a client, I'm thinking, what does this look like in implementation and rollout and setup? And so I have a lot more empathy for the teams and what it's going to take to make things happen.
Yeah.
The other thing is it gave me deeper than, everyone said I know enough to be dangerous, and a lot of people with new business. There's areas that I know a lot where I could help set your campaign up and get you running. And then I also helped Michelle launch She Scales, which is our program to really help female founders scale because we want to see more women on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
And so that allows me to work with startup brands who are really in early stages, and you really have to get into the basics of getting campaigns set up and reaching your audience and those pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think that experience allowed me to be better holistically as a marketer versus just specialized in one area too.
Yeah, that's dope. That is dope.
She's pretty dope for doing that too. I tell her all the time, like, you changed one conversation, changed the whole trajectory of my career.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious, I'm wondering if it's inspired in you any passion for mentorship and passing that on at all. How do you feel about that kind of stuff?
For me, even before coming to Rain, I truly feel like you reach back as you rise, because as a young professional, in every job I've gotten, every promotion I've gotten, someone said to me, someone was in my corner, someone was advocating. I don't even think you turn in applications anymore and get jobs. I do feel like it's so much of networking in the background. And so my kind of mission in life is to really make sure I'm doing the same for others. And I do a lot of mentorship for my college. When I went to San Diego State for my undergrad, so I mentor college students there. But for me, at any point, and people know this if they ever have conversations with me, the first thing I'll say to them is, how can I be a resource? Like, how can I connect you with someone in my world later? How can I open a door for you? How can I push buttons in your elevator? So even at the end of this, I'll say, reach out to me via LinkedIn. If there's something I can do, I will do it, because one conversation can change someone's career, or opening a door for someone, or I know another agency or a brand side that's hiring, and all I do is say, let me introduce you to this person. And suddenly their whole situation changes. And so I do think that burden weighs heavier on Black women, women of color in the industry, because you have a lot more people asking you for that support, I think, as well. But to me, it's what fills my tank, and it's how we get this industry to look different, is by other people reaching back as they rise across, up, and making sure we make this industry more diverse.
Preach, girl. I would also say that as we continue to help each other into the industry and help each other through the industry, the burden spreads out. It neutralizes more, right? Like, the reason why the people who have, the Black women who have, made it to a successful career are getting hit up so much is because there's not enough of us. You know what I mean? So like maybe as more people, start to come in, we can kind of spread that out a little bit, and
Right.
it should be such a big weight. So that's really cool. What do you think is one of your career goals or ambitions that you have not yet achieved?
Ooh. So for me, I really want to at some point operate in the intersection of DE&I, marketing, and sales because I think they're so interconnected.
Hmm.
I just finished getting my DE&I certificate. To me, it's like if your sales team is understands how to speak inclusively to an audience and how to do that, then there's not this disconnect between the campaigns. What you're seeing a lot is creative campaigns that's trying to do a little bit better with diversity, but then the sales team doesn't know how to communicate that message further.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a disconnect in the industry, and I think DE&I in a lot of cases lives with HR, when really it does also need to live within creative. It needs to live within sales. And so for me, there's some magical role out there someday that I want that kind of has all three of those in a bucket. And then I'm really interested in multicultural marketing. I've started, my undergrad is in Africana Studies and multicultural marketing. And so I'm taking some additional courses and classes to really build up that acumen, because that to me is another dream role, is how do I combine all of those things and have this strategy sales role that exists in all those buckets. So I want all the things, basically. All the things.
I mean, get them. That sounds great. That's really cool. I never really thought about the connection between sales and D&I, but I will echo that it belongs in creative, because it's one thing to bring in diverse talent, but if you're bringing them in and they're not feeling heard in meetings, or if their ideas are being called like too cultural or weird or niche, you know what I mean? Like, then it's not making its way into the work, and you're not making that, it's the I part, it's the inclusivity once you get people in the door that I think is lacking. So, I mean, that's dope. Like go do that work.
I know, right? It's on my mission. It's on my vision board. I'm like, that role exists. It's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you have any advice now that you have a flourishing career that you would give to yourself before you got into this industry.
Be braver. I think I personally was so cautious and scared to ask for things, and scared and not understanding my full worth in a lot of situations, not understanding that, there's a reason why Black women are one of the most educated groups, because we feel, I think in a lot of cases, and not to speak for everyone, but it's like, I have to have all the receipts and all the proof that I can do something. And I still operate like that. I still tend to overdo it just so I can fight off imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. So if I could give myself advice, it would be stand in confidence of what you know. Value your skills that you have. Know that those are valuable commodities. I mean, I interview men all the time, right? I'm experienced, who genuinely don't have all the qualifications for that job, but they come in with their chest up and confident. And like, I want this. And by the way, my starting salary will be this. And I'm looking at them like, have you babysat a child? Like, why are you doing all these things? And then I'll see these women with these incredible resumes for like, I'm just happy with whatever and I'm like, no, that's the wrong energy. So I was the same way. Like, how do I get my younger self? That would be my advice, is use the power of your network, have confidence in who you are, say it with your chest, all the work you've done. Don't take yourself for granted.
Yeah. Oof, that's a word. So I'm wondering if you have any kind of Black-owned products, or just really Black AF products that you're loving right now. Anything that's like giving you life.
Give me life. So the first is Shine, which is women of color, and I think partly Black-owned. Shine is a meditation app, and I love it. I deal with anxiety because in this workday and the pressures and stuff, I'll get really worked up. And so Shine I love because it's women of color, men of color speaking to you, Black voices speaking to you in meditation. And to me, I realized that's something I need for my soul. I need Black voices encouraging me and guiding me through life. And so I love that app. The other thing I'm loving is Grass Field. This is a dress I have on. You can't see it, but it's
so cute. I've been looking at the pattern. I thought it was a shirt, but like I love that print.
Oh, I love that brand. It's so comfy. It makes your Zoom outfits look a little more fun. I love Lit Bar. I think I have their product on right now too.
Wow.
There's,
We were ready for this question.
I was ready. I'm like, oh, I love, like, if you tell me Black owned, I'm like, and this and this and this, because
We have to be like a directory.
where can my dollars go? I'm on that Beyonce directory, like, okay,
yeah,
5, yeah.
Right. That's amazing. Your braids look fantastic too.
Okay.
I'm like,
I had to learn to do them myself on YouTube because we move so much. Like,
yeah. I was gonna say, do you have like an Oklahoma stylist who's giving me tutorials out there?
I go on YouTube and I'm like, I've learned you can do anything on YouTube. I'm like, how do you do this? I'll figure it out. And so I had to learn to do it myself, because when I was in Portland, which is not, there's some amazing stylists in Portland, but it's just hard to get them. And then Oklahoma, I moved and I didn't know anyone. I'm like, we gotta maintain.
And just the starting over with finding a hairstylist is just the hardest thing. Like,
emotional journey.
I don't think that people who are not Black women understand how long it's find that right fit. And then when you move and having to start over, oh, it's just the worst. Like,
girl, yeah, it's hard when you move. And I was going through withdrawals every time I moved, and I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I have to learn some. And I went natural because my perm was not working for me.
Yeah.
So it was like the combination of natural and then I work out like a crazy person. That's my stress relief. And so I had to do braids.
Yeah. Yeah, because the sweat, like, it's,
No.
Yeah. I'm still, if you can't tell, I'm still
it's cute though.
Figuring out, like, just dealing with this 4C hair. Like, it is a life. It is a life. Like, they don't call it wash day for no reason. Like,
it's your arm is all tired.
Exactly. The sectioning. Oh, the sectioning. Okay.
I do this every Sunday. I work for a living. Who else
right.
For me?
So, besides your just openness and willing to reach back and mentor women, how else do you think that your POV, your experiences as a Black woman, kind of makes its way into your work?
I'm very bullish about how Black women, how people of color are represented, because I think the advertising industry does not realize the impact they have when they put out certain messages. So I went to Japan when I was in high school, and we travel internationally with our kids. And what I noticed is they base their cultural knowledge of Black people on what they've seen on TV. So when advertisers casually push stereotypes forward, then you go to another country and they genuinely think that's who that and what that culture is.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I'm bullish about, is how are we representing those stereotypes? How are we avoiding those things? I'm pretty aggressive about that. I think that advertisers forget about that responsibility. They genuinely do. And they think we're just doing something fun. And so there's people who do amazing work in this industry. And I always want to hype and elevate that, so that more creatives, whether you're white, Black, whatever creative you are, you're seeing what quality work looks like that elevates. Procter & Gamble has been doing an excellent job with that. Just excellent work.
I think they called it widen the lens or something like that. Widen the screen. It's been
so beautiful. Good.
Beautiful. I 100% agree. And so you have tried out, you've had to test out every department basically within advertising. I'm wondering if you, are there any careers outside of advertising or sales in general that give you career FOMO? Like, oh, I wish I could just be magically qualified and doing this job tomorrow.
A Peloton trainer. Like,
ooh.
Oh my gosh, if you could, there's a couple, Tunde and Jess Sims, who are Peloton trainers. Tunde, I'm like, listen, if something changes in my life, and I'm not coordinated. Like, I was an athlete in college and I ran track because all I can do is run in circles. Like, I'm not coordinated. But I'm like, I would be a Peloton instructor if I could. It just looks amazing. I love fitness as a category. So I think anything in fitness gives me FOMO. There's times where I'll see Nike campaigns that give me FOMO. I'm like, I want to be doing that. So I think anything in fitness and sports, super FOMO for me. My favorite clients, which I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that, my favorite clients that I bring in are always fitness clients. I'm like, I just love what you're doing. Or wellness, anything in that fitness wellness space is the coolest.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume it's all right to nerd out about some categories of your
life. I got some favorites.
So I see that you have a little interest in cannabis. Let me know if we need to crop this out. Okay. But if we don't, let's talk about it, because I do too.
We do not need to crap it out. So I was in Oregon, and Oregon is a fully legalized state. Now I'm in Oklahoma, so it's different here. But for me, cannabis industry, and I was, no, I wouldn't even say I was anyone who was using cannabis at the time. But for me, I think two things happen. I worked in CPG, and I see what happens with products, right? And how this is an emerging product that really, we're in an early stage of innovation where you can have Black founders and you can really shift a population that's been so negatively impacted by cannabis. I mean, you still have people serving 30, 40-year prison sentences over less than an ounce, or things that minor traffic things that because cannabis was involved, now they have major jail time, which means they can't go to school. It limits their opportunities. So to me, the impact on the Black community specifically in regards to cannabis means that we should be heavily involved in this industry.
Yep.
Also, it shouldn't go in such a direction where the Black consumer is ignored, because cannabis, I mean, alcohol gets promoted all the time. And I think cannabis, I don't even like to put them in the same camp. I think they do very different things. They have very different purposes. I also think that anxiety is very high in the Black community just for what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So to have that as a resource and a tool, so I look at it really on the benefits and the economic place that happens as well.
Yeah.
The emerging category. I feel like this is an industry that people of color should be getting into and investing in. And I, of course, have limitations. I have a husband in the Air Force. I'm not trying to mess with his security clearance, any of that stuff. But I think I advocate for other people to really get involved. And then I mentor cannabis entrepreneurs in the space in regards to marketing. Marketing is super limited what they can do. Most of it has to be organic. But there's a lot of opportunity in the space, and also to not ignore the Black consumer in this space as well.
All right, I want to give you an opportunity to just sort of brag and just talk your shit about like goals that you achieved, work that you're proudest of, and where you feel like you really just nailed it.
Last year and earlier this year as well, I was doing a lot of thought leadership writing about DE&I in that category, and had some things published with Ad Age and campaign. That was a very big moment of pride for me.
Yeah.
It was one where I stepped outside of my comfort zone, because I was nervous to use my voice in that space. I'm like, do I want to tread into that lane? I feel so passionately about this personally. How do I make that something that's also involved in my personal brand? And I'm a big advocate of career coaches, and I have a Black woman, shout out to Blair Harvey, who's an amazing career coach. She really helped me find my voice, what my brand platform should be around that. So I was really proud of stepping into more of that. I'm proud of clients that I've brought in. I think part of new business is like, is this, it's dating, right? You're giving the girlfriend experience with the client. You're like, here's all the fun things we can do, and here's, what we can do, and here's how we scale your brand. But at the same time, I need to make sure this is a good marriage once we get in this and we're the right partners. And so for me, a point of pride is clients that I've brought in, like Amira Fitness, that started out small, and then you see what they've scaled. And so it's like being a mom and watching a baby. You're like, oh my gosh, look how you're growing up. It's so exciting. So that's always a moment of pride to me, where we have happy, successful clients that are scaling. That's a big deal. I'm proud of surviving 2020. I was, like dealing with kids and working online and managing all of that, and thought I was going to lose my mind at some point. And the fact that I'm still standing and I'm cheering on other working moms who are like, you're still, we did it, we made it through this, is a big point of just celebration for me.
I mean,
the year.
Yes. I mean, I have to, for people who did this with children, I don't have any children. And even just in my observation of coworkers going through this journey with children, I commend y'all. Like, you are doing all the jobs right now. Like, the expectations that, to teach and to work, and also to physically guard after these little people while you're doing your whole ass other thing. Like, to me, it just blows my mind. How has that been for you? And have you felt like the industry has been supportive?
Last year was interesting, because I have sons who are 10 and 12, and they're Black sons. So it was a combination of everything that was happening in 2020, but then it was also the emotional impact of George Floyd, and seeing all of these things and they're at the age now where it's very hard to protect them from seeing things. right? It's hard to protect them from that. And now they look like teenagers. So it's also this, I watched in this year specifically them go from people looking at them like little kids and now people looking at them like they're teenagers and grown men. And so that was another hard transition for me to want to, how do I insulate them from this world, but also educate them on it's beautiful to be a Black man. And I want to see Black men grow old. So that was a lot of emotional stress from last year. I think being on Zoom constantly was another thing that was having people in a window in my life all the time was interesting because my kids would come in and out and I would be in the middle of a client call and say, hey, you're going to see a kid and my son's going to walk in, and clients were very receptive to that because we were all kind of in the same struggle. So that was cool to see the evolution of you're going to see a kid. They do exist. The other thing I would say is there's a book by Tiffany Dufu, who is amazing, and she runs a program called The Crew. It's called Drop the Ball. And I had to reread that book twice. And I'm like, you can't do everything. There's going to be a pile of laundry. There's going to be some stuff. Someday we're not going to eat the best meals, but we're all trying to survive. And I was super transparent with my kids. I'm like, this is a $50 million pitch. I have to do this week. I need you to watch Blue's Clues with your sister so I can get this done. So it was just moments of really transparency about the world. And because my husband's military, he was off doing some of his own commitments. So it was on me. And it was a stressful year, but you adapt, you learn, you grow, figure it out.
Yeah. And I mean, wow, my mind is blown by all of that. But there are so many layers to it. That sticks out to me when you're talking about dealing with just how other people see your children.
Yeah.
And to go from someone that you've like cradled and, wiped, and now people are looking at them like they're scary and they're, you know what I mean? It's like, what is that? That's really hard to deal with. And so I just commend you again. Like, honestly, like I'm so impressed by mothers in general. But to be a Black woman, to be a working woman, to be a working from home woman, to be someone who knows how to braid, and also to be a mother.
I'll say braid well. The Zoom is back far.
No, I mean, but damn, that is impressive in and of itself. And
Thank you.
So you're so dope.
Listen, you're out here doing your own show, creating beauty, amplifying voices, like saying back to you. You are also doing dope things.
Thank you. I love this love. Love that. Well, I just have to say thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. I know that this episode is going to feed into so many people and just give life. I mean, the dress alone is going to give so much life.
Very comfy.
So I just want to say again, thank you so much for coming on Black Tea, and to everyone who's watching, thank you so much for watching. Please, please, please go to musebycleo.com/Black Tea to get caught up on all the other episodes as well, and share. I mean, we can't get enough Black women. If you are a Black woman in this industry, regardless of your department and where you are in your career, we want to talk to you. Please do reach out, get in touch, and let's share your story and share your experiences. So thank y'all so much and have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey.